So hello, my name is Ricardo Cortu. I became a community leader only after I understood my mission. And what is my mission, you may ask? It is to ignite a spark within people that will guide them towards their true destiny. Okay? That is what they call a definition of purpose. Okay? As a leader, you should always take the time out to be able to understand what your calling is. Because once you understand your calling, then you can be, then you can do, then you can have. And what that really means is you can be what you're called to be, do the things that you're called to do, and have all the things that your heart's desire. Okay? So I like your answer because it should keep you up at night. It should, because it means something to you. It's something that it pulses inside of you. It pulls you. It pulls you towards doing. It pulls you towards being. It pulls you towards having the results that your calling, your mission is, right? And so I just kind of wanted to do that because I want you to really start thinking about, does my mission drive me? Your mission should drive you to be that leader, to be uncomfortable, to be who you are called to be. Just because your mission really makes your heart beat. It makes you feel fulfilled. Like if you're trying to, raise your kids to do the right thing. The question is, are you doing all you can so you can be an example for your kid? Are you being uncomfortable? Are you stretching yourself beyond what you ever thought was possible? Because how can you expect that from somebody if they're not seeing it in real time? There's several things I remember as a kid watching my dad go to different banks. He was in the military, but he was a good cook. And I remember seeing him. He was like, watch, son, this is how I'm going to bring in extra money. You said you want to be able to get a new bike. You said you want to do this. I'm going to show you another way of how to do it other than having a job. And I was like, okay. And so I just watched him work the room. I watched him say hello to people. I seen him cook some food ahead of time, and he brought some food. It's like, hey, anybody like ribs? Anybody like patties? He's Latin, so he making Spanish food. So most people are not used to having that. But I seen how he smiled with everybody. I seen how he encouraged everybody. I seen how he'll quack jokes and make people laugh. And then at the end of it, all said and done, I seen him walk out with like $600. And I was like, okay. As a kid, I was like, wow. So my dad, if push comes to shove, I know how to make $600. He's showing me how to make $600. Now, $600 don't seem like much, but if your lights are off and you're in a hard situation, that $600, knowing how to do that and do it legally, right? To make an impression. That's what he was showing me. And that same skill set, that same drive, now I understand why. Now I know how to work a room. I know how to say hello to every person in the room and make them feel like I see them, right? There was things that I picked up that I just didn't realize that that's what he was exposing me to, and so your mission, he was exposing me to myself. I didn't realize that I was a people person. I didn't realize that I would be speaking in front of crowds and educate people for being entrepreneurs. I didn't realize that, but he seen that in me. He exposed that to me, right? And so as a leader, as your mission should always inspire others around you. If your mission is not inspiring others around you, then you need to go back to the drawing board, right? And the reason why I say that is because when you get locked in doing your mission, then that's when you become a leader. Because you become a leader of your dominion, of what your domain is, what you're called to do, what you're called to be. And that's where people struggle at. Because until you find that do mentality, that be mentality, that have mentality, then when it comes to community leadership, when it comes to organizational leadership, you will always struggle because you don't know your identity yet. And so that's why I went around and tried to ask everybody what their mission was. And you have to be honest with yourself. Do you feel that you really know your mission? And if not, it's okay, but let's start on the road to get into the path of knowing what your true mission is, what your true calling is. Because in the end, when the sooner you can refine that, the sooner you can focus in on that, the more you can accomplish. Okay? I want to be where I'm celebrated, right? And I realize that if I'm in a position or if I'm part of something that people are celebrating me, that means that they're going to get the best thing from me. They're going to get my best every single time. Every single time. And me at my best, I'm a pulse maker. I ignite things. I change things. I empower people. And so all those things happen. I've never been a part of an organization. Once I really found who I was and who I am, who I'm called to do, I've never been a part of an organization that I have an exponentially grown organization. If they respected me, right? I know it. I know exactly what to do. I know how to do it, why it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and what we need to do to make sure we can handle the growth, right? That's just an ability that God has given me. And you got to have that same confidence in whatever you're doing. You got to have that same confidence that you know without a shadow of a doubt. You have to have an undeniable belief that what you're called to do, that you're doing it and you're doing it well. Everything you do is amazing. And one thing I remember that I was told about leadership is, and you got to ask yourself, are you the leader who tried to do everything? And I remember before, yes, I was the leader that's trying to do everything, right? And then my mentor was like, well, that's why you don't have help, because you never gave somebody the opportunity to be great in their own power. And I was just like, but if it don't get done, like, it's gonna fail. Like, it's gonna be dirty. It's gonna be, it's not gonna be the way I want. It's not like. But then he was like, hold on. You see how you said the way you want? I was like, but that's not. But I just wanted to be good, though. I wanted to be great. I want excellence, right? I want it to be powerful. I want to make a difference. I was like, I understand what you want, but is that what God wants? And I was like, I would think so. It's like, but we are all a part of the body. Like, we all have our gifts. Like, let some move over. Let somebody do it. Let them do it. Let them fail. Let them go. But you can be there to hold them up. You can be able to catch them when they fall. You got to let people be who they're called to be, or else you'll stifle them. You'll stop them from being able to go into their destiny. Don't be a destiny blocker because you want to be a hog of leadership. You want attention. Right? And so you got to ask yourself, am I blocking other people's destinies? Am I blocking people from their opportunity? If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you do what you're good at, I guarantee you somebody will always come and fill that hole where you think that you need to pick it up. I promise you. Every time, whenever I decided just to focus in on what I'm really good at, everything else got filled in. Everything filled in. And so when you talk about help of your dreams, help of your desires, help of your vision, everything that's in your community, all that stuff comes when you focus on what you're called to do. Until then, you'll get people who will misuse you, they'll mistreat you, they'll steal from you, you'll try to pour all that information to them, but you never gave them the reins to be able to feel a part of it. A lot of leaders who don't take their own advice. They're easy. Look, I'm the best. I can have the best conversations. I can tell people what they need to do, how to A, B, C, D, E, and F, and G to get there to their life, get their most success. But then at some point I realized that I got all these people being successful, and I told them how to get there. Why am I not implementing that for myself? I realized it's easy to talk about than be about it. You can be a person to learn and know all these different things, but until you apply it, it's only knowledge. But you want whatever you learn to become wisdom. See, wisdom breaks generational curses. Wisdom creates opportunities and different elevations of success in your community as you step in wisdom versus just knowledge, right? Because it's so easy to be able to get information and be like, oh, okay, A plus B, A, B, C, D, E, F, this is how you do it. But until you implement it, you realize that, you know what? It's not A, B, it's A, Z, B for me. right? Because everybody's path is different. You can have this a system, you can have principles. Principles never change, right? But systems change, but principles don't. So you can stand on principles because you know over time it will work eventually. But systems are meant to be broken. They're meant to be readjusted. That's why every 3 months you got this system now you can do, or you can do this system or this type of system. This can be able to allow you to be successful. But until you understand who you are and what you're called to do, that's everybody's system seems like it'll work until you pick it up for yourself and you realize that system's not for me. I need my own authentic system. What does that look like? Does it look like I'm reading 4 or 5 books a week until I find out what I really want to do? Does it look like I'm volunteering to 10, 20 different organizations till I tap into what I'm called to do? What does that system look like for you? And what I realize is if you take a moment in time, and what I call it is when you truly just step out and just be unlimited, like just go and do everything you can possible with your day. Go volunteer, go help people, go work for people, do all the things that you can do for 90 days. I guarantee you'll start seeing some type of consistency of what you're good at, what you're called to do, because you'll take massive action. And in that massive action, it'll cause a massive leap. But that leap is not externally, it's actually inside of you. Okay? So I want you to really assess that. I want you to really think about that. And that's for everybody. Whatever tragedy that you've ever been through, there's something that you can learn from it. Because if you're still here, it's for a reason. And somebody, somewhere, lost their life from it. But you didn't. You're still standing. I even think about COVID. I had COVID twice. Millions of people died from COVID, y'all. Millions. Why am I still here for? We treat it like it's the flu. It's not the flu. People literally lost their lives. Family members lost their lives. Not just like one family member, like 20, 30 family members in people's family. But you're still here. You're still breathing. You're still walking. You're still driving. You're still calling. You're still laughing. All these things, you're still here. What did you learn from the season of COVID in your life? What did you learn? How many people here are Christians? Okay, I just want to make sure I'm talking to the right room. Okay. All right, so all I'm going to say is you need to fast, y'all. Fasting builds up consistency. Okay? You don't have to do a 21-day fast. You can fast. Say, hey, for 3 days, I'm going to fast from not watching TV. 3 days, I'm going to fast from not eating snacks. 3 days, I'm going to fast from not cursing if you curse. People, everybody has their vice. Everybody has their challenges, right? 3 days where I'm not going to say anything bad out of my mouth. That's where I started. I started then, and then I started fasting. Like I started okay, so I'm going to go a week without eating meat. I'm going to challenge myself to pray 15 minutes every single day. That's where I started. And what I realized is when I concentrated myself in that way, that's when I started being able to consistently do other things in record-breaking time. Because I didn't have clutter in my life. I was able to tap into my creativity, my creative side. I intentionally spent more time reading the Word. I intentionally spent more time praying to God. And that began to unleash something in me that I didn't know I didn't realize I had. That's why I'll do 21-day prayer challenges. That's why I'll do 7-day prayer challenges. Because I know if I challenge myself for 7 days or 21 days to do anything good, positive, it's going to open up a whole nother level of opportunity for me. Like, so I'm telling you, it works. It works. And the quicker you find a way to be able to be consistent, you'll realize that all your heart's desires will begin to become answered without you even thinking about it. And that's when it gets fun. I promise you. Definitely. And I will tell you, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to make the most impact. Okay? You don't have to be the smartest person in the room to make the most impact. And this is coming from a C student in high school, C student in college. Now I'm gonna be an A student in my master's program. But but I didn't realize the power I brought to the table until I spent time asking God, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? I asked it several times. I ain't hear clearly. I ain't hear clearly at all. So I went and I took massive action, y'all. I took massive action. I volunteered my time. I spoke about things and topics that I was just learning for the first time. I put myself out there so I can begin to see what people were saying about me. If you don't go out and do, nobody will have, you'll never have evidence of what you're called to do. So whatever you're sitting on today, promise me you'll push for 30 days straight and focus on that thing. I promise you, if you do that, you will get more results than you could ever imagine. And all that really is to do is to get you to spark yourself to your destiny so that you'll sleep with a smile on your face. You'll wake up with some excitement in your body. And then you'll start seeing yourself do things and notice things that, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore because, that's messing with my energy. That's messing with what I'm called to do. You'll start avoiding people that are bad in your circle. And then they'll dismiss themselves because they're like, oh no, yeah, anytime I get around this person, I feel like they challenging me. I feel like they want to go do too much. But that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be on fire for whatever you're doing. You're supposed to be hot where people are uncomfortable around you unless they're in their position, their proper position. I don't want people around me if they're not in their proper position. You know why? Because casualties happen. Delay happens. And I can't stand delay unless I'm supposed to be in delay. I can't stand it. I want acceleration. I experienced acceleration one time in my life, and I don't never want to stop it. It brought me from the back of the bus to the front of the bus. It brought me from in the room, sitting down to in front of the room, speaking and being the expert in the room. And it's like all I got to do is focus on the behind the scene things, really understanding what I'm here for. That is leadership in a nutshell. If you can focus and do the things behind the scenes, that's unpopular. And those unpopular things, prayer is not popular, y'all. You would think it would be, but it's not. Do you know how many people, every time I pray now, people hear me pray, they look at me like, who are you? What are you doing? Like, I never heard anybody pray like that before. I was like, the only reason why you haven't heard nobody pray like that before because you don't pray. And then you'll realize that sacrifice, and it's not a sacrifice, it's a relationship. You're building a relationship with who you're called to be. You're becoming that queen that you're called to be. Crown yourself and walk in your calling. Whatever past things every decision that you ever made, that you made bad decisions, forgive yourself. You can't go forward until you forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. And try again. This time, make it happen. Make it count. Go all in. Don't leave nothing on the table. That's leadership. And when you step into that, I promise you, anything you ever want to accomplish, you will have as much help as you need. You will never lack resources. You'll start doing some bold things. Like, I want this building over here, and this is why I want the building. Who I need to talk to about it? And all of a sudden, you'll be like, oh, I've been looking for somebody like you. It's been so long since I found somebody like you. I've been looking for somebody like you. You just don't know. I promise you, y'all. That's leadership. And your community will appreciate it. I promise you. Every person that come in touch with you, they will appreciate the sacrifice you made behind the scenes. And like I said, it's not a sacrifice. It's really a relationship with you. Okay. All right. So, the two most effective leadership styles for community involvement is what we just talked about. Okay. Servant leadership and transformational leadership. Now, I need to dissect servant leadership real quick. Okay. Being a servant leader does not mean that you lose yourself in other people's situations. Okay. Being a servant leader goes back to what we talked about the 3 levels of leadership on last week, where we talked about first you let the people lead you, but while they're leading you, you're paying attention to the problems, things that's holding them up. Then you move forward and you come next to them and you do the work with them, right? That is your servitude. You're next to them doing the work together, right? You're building trust. You're building relationships. At the same time, you're noticing other problems that they can't solve in that level when you're next to them. And then what happens is you go forward. At some point, your servant leadership turns to transformational leadership, y'all, because you will transform their thought process, their mindset, because they'll have common ground with you. They'll understand where you started. They'll believe in your pathway because they can see themselves through you. Okay? And so it's not something that you continue to deal with as a servant leader. It begins to transfer into a transformational leader eventually over time, if you're actually operating in those 3 levels of leadership I just covered. Okay? So I really want you to think about how, and the process, the great thing about this is being a servant leader. It's the same no matter what level you go to. Okay, it might look a little bit different. You might be dealing with a certain amount, different amounts of people, but it's still the same structure. People lead you, you come next to them, you go ahead of them. People lead you, go next to them, go ahead of them. Because once you understand it's a principle, it's a system that you can replicate it, and you can think about it. Think about Jesus. He started in the temple. He listened to the wise men. And then one day he had the audacity to begin to speak the scriptures and all these different things. Then he went on a fast. He came back and he was the leader of the table. He drew those same men who were speaking in the church. He drew the crowd. He did the same thing. He did the same exact thing. So I just want you to really think about how, if you study certain things, you realize, like, man, okay, that's